So I wanted to share something with you guys out of a book that I've been reading. I really think anybody who cares about their health or who are curious about where their food comes from, even people who love family pets, would really, really benefit from reading this book. See no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. The most effective way to distort reality is to deny it. If we tell ourselves there isn't a problem, then we never have to worry about what to do about it. And the most effective way to deny reality is to make it invisible. As we've discussed, invisibility is the bulwark of the carnistic system. Most pigs, more than 100 million, spend their entire lives in intensive confinement and never see the outdoors until they are packed into trucks to be sent to slaughter. Shortly after piglets are born, they are typically castrated and their tails are cut off without anesthesia. Ranchers are told to dock their tails with blunt, side-cutting pliers because the crushing actually helps to reduce bleeding. Tail docking is necessary because under extreme stress and when all their natural urges have been thwarted, pigs develop neurotic behaviors and can actually bite each other's tails off. This psychological reaction is one of the symptoms of which is referred to in the industry as PSS, a condition that is remarkably similar to what we call in humans as post-traumatic stress disorder. Other symptoms include rigidity, panting, anxiety, blotchy skin, and sometimes sudden death. Like humans who have endured solitary confinement and other tortures, in captivity, pigs have engaged in self-mutilation and have been found repeating the same nonsensical behaviors over and over. Sometimes thousands of times a day, the animals are literally driven insane. That is what's happening to the meat that is being made for people's foods. These animals are in such horrendous conditions that we could never even fathom living in ourselves. But yet these poor, helpless animals are living in the worst conditions possible. Pigs are intelligent. They're sensitive animals, and I'll just tell you this part of the book. It says, as young as 3 weeks old, pigs learn their names and respond when called. In fact, research from Pennsylvania State University revealed that pigs could be trained to play computer games using their snouts to control joysticks. They were able to hit their targets with 80% accuracy. Pigs are also affectionate and sociable, enjoying the company of humans, which is why they can make excellent pets. Several years ago, I visited a shelter for rescued farm animals, and the pigs couldn't get enough of my scratching their bellies and behind their ears. So knowing that animals are very intelligent, they feel love, they feel pain, they can be driven insane just like a human would in solitary confinement. We can't be a part of that, you know? And pigs, it says piglets are born in confinement. They are allowed to suckle for just 2 to 3 weeks, and they do this through bars, through a crate. So, you know, it's like these poor mama pigs are stuck in these gestation crates their whole lives. I mean, what kind of life is that? You know, and it's like, do you really want to eat that kind of meat from animals that were abused and made to go mad and that are wallowing in their own feces? And think about this. So they interviewed some workers, and this is just, it's just hard to read. It says, okay, I'm just gonna read it. After weaning for the next 6 months, the young pigs are crammed into what are often filthy pens or sheds in hog factories. These buildings are filled with noxious gases from the pigs' excrement, and the air is dense with dust and dander. Both pigs and the humans who work in swine confinement buildings suffer from chronic respiratory illnesses, and a number of pigs die prematurely from lung disease. And these pigs that die early, they are still made into your food. So you are eating diseased meat. It is still being sold to you. Think about that one. When the pigs are ready to be slaughtered, they are herded onto tractors bound for the slaughterhouse. To save money, as many pigs as possible are packed into a truck. And this overcrowding, coupled with the fact that animals receive no food, water, or protection from extreme temperatures during transport, which can last upward to 28 hours, result in high mortality rates. According to the National Hog Farmer, an industry publication, the National Recorded Incident for Dead on Arrival, DOA, pigs, in 2007 was based on 22 commercial field trials. The rate of non-ambulatory pigs classified as fatigued or injured prior to reaching the weigh scale at the packing plant was about 37%. The ones dead on arrival was 21%. No national figures exist for non-ambulatory pigs. Agriculture investigator Gail Einsteins, who interviewed a number of slaughterhouse workers, was told of the transport process. You're going to lose hogs in a semi-trailer no matter what. During the time I worked in rendering, there was large piles of dead hogs every day. When they came off the truck, they're solid as a block of ice. I went to pick up some hogs one day for chainsawing from a pile of about 30 frozen hogs, and I found 2 that were frozen but still alive. I could tell they were alive because they raised their heads up like, "Help me." I took my axe chopper and chopped them to death. The pigs that do survive the journey are deposited into holding pens to await slaughter. When it is time, they are prodded onto a narrow walkway or chute on which they walk single file to the killing floor. The animals at the rear of the chute hear the screams of the pigs ahead who have arrived at the slaughter line, as well as the shouts of men working on the noisy production line. Scholar explains that he saw, upon reaching the point in his tour, the sounds get louder. Factory sounds, the noise of power tools and machinery, bursts of compressed air. We walk up a slippery metal stairway and reach a small platform where the production line begins. A man turns and smiles at me. He wears safety goggles and a hard hat. His face is splattered with gray matter and blood. Not surprisingly, many pigs are reluctant to move forward. As one slaughterhouse worker put it, when the hogs smell blood, they don't want to go in. I've seen hogs beaten, whipped, kicked in the head to get them up to the restrainer. One night I saw a driver get so angry at a hog he broke its back with a piece of a board. I've seen hog drivers take their prod and shove it up the hog's ass to get them to move I didn't appreciate that because it made the hogs twice as wild by the time they got to me. Farm animals are supposed to be stunned and rendered unconscious before they are actually killed. However, some pigs remain conscious when they are strung upside down by their legs in shackles, and they kick and struggle as they are moved along the conveyor belt to have their throats slit. Because of the speed at which the animals are supposed to be stunned and killed, and because slaughterhouse workers are often ineffectively trained, a number of pigs may also survive throat cutting and remain conscious when they arrive at the next station, where they are dropped into scalding water, a procedure done to remove their hair. Einstein, God, I can't even pronounce the guy's name, I'm so upset, describes how squealing hogs were left dangling in one leg while workers left to take their lunch breaks. And thousands of hogs were immersed in the scalding tank alive. And one worker she interviewed commented, "These hogs hit the water and start screaming and kicking. Sometimes they thrash so much they kick water out of the tank. There's a rotating arm that pushes them under, no chance for them to get out. I'm not sure if they burn to death before they drown, but it takes them a couple of minutes to stop thrashing." She also found that the stress workers face were spending hours at a single station where they have to kill or stun one hog every 4 seconds led to violent outbursts toward the pigs. One worker described such an incident. "One day, the live hogs were driving me nuts. When an animal pisses you off, even though you are going to kill it, only you don't just kill it, you go in hard, you push hard, blow the windpipe, make it drown in its own blood, split its nose. A live hog would be running around the pit. It would just be looking up at me, and I'd be sticking, and I would just take my knife and cut its eye out while it was just sitting there. And this hog would just scream. One time I took my knife, it's sharp enough, and I sliced off the end of its nose, just like a piece of bologna. The hog went crazy for a few seconds, then it just sat there looking kind of stupid, so I took a handful of salt brine and ground it into its nose. Now that hog really went nuts, brushing its nose all over the place. I still had a bunch of salt left on my hand. I was wearing a rubber glove, and I stuck the salt right up the hog's ass. The poor hog didn't know whether to shit or go blind." Female pigs that are used as breeders eventually wind up at the slaughterhouse as well. But before that time, they spend much of their lives in small metal cages and stalls that are referred to as gestation crates. These crates are 2 feet wide, too small for the sows to even turn around, and their floors are covered in feces and urine. The animals suffer from a number of problems due to the confinement, but one of the most painful conditions they endure is urinary tract infections, which can become so severe as to be fatal. Urinary tract infections occur because when the sows lie down, they are immersed in bacteria-ridden waste that makes its way into the urinary tracts. A sow will be forcibly impregnated in rapid cycles of every 5 or 6 months until she is no longer able to reproduce, at which time she is packed into a truck headed for slaughter. Even if I was a meat eater and I was to read this, there'd be no way on earth I could put my money into a system that has no heart and treat animals this way. It's just the most awful thing. I don't know. I don't know how anybody could do something like that. And of course these animals are scared. They spend their whole life living in pain and misery and their suffering. And then they smell blood. They see these other animals being murdered. And I mean, could you imagine? I mean, if it was you, it's just a horrible thing, Anyways, I thought about reading this chapter, or this book, chapter by chapter, and like reading it to the camera in case anybody would like to, they don't like to read and they would rather hear somebody else read it. But this is the book. Oh, you're gonna see it backwards, never mind. But it's called Why We Love Dogs, Eat Pigs, and Wear Cows. And I highly suggest people picking this book up. Anyways, it makes a person think. It really does. And I think I need to put this book down for a while because it's just been tearing me up. But anyways, I love you guys.